Hello everybody and welcome to another Doctor Who review. This time I'm doing a story from Colin Baker's era. Yes, I'm doing a review of Vengeance on Varos. Here is my television companion, and of course as always, here's the plot. The Doctor visits the planet Varos to obtain supplies of a rare ore called Zyton 7, vital to the functioning of the TARDIS. Varos was once a colony for the criminally insane, and the descendants of the original guard still rule, while their poverty-stricken people are kept entertained by screens of public torture from the punishment dome. The governor has been trying to negotiate a better export price for the Zyton ore from Syl, an envoy of the Galatron Mining Corporation, whose reptilian body is supported and kept cool by a mobile water tank. The Doctor and Peri meet two rebels, Jondar and Areta. Peri and Areta are captured and almost reshaped into beast-like creatures by Quilliam, the dome's sadistic commandant. But the Doctor saves them and tells the governor the true value of Zyton 7. Quilliam and Varos' chief officer, who are in the pay of the corporation, try to kill the Doctor and the governor, but are themselves dispatched. Syl plans an invasion of Varos by force from his home world, Thoros Beta, but the corporation veto this and instruct him to buy Zyton ore at any price. An interesting story. I've done political parodies as well, and this is the first attempt by writer Philip Martin of a story for the series. He would return the following season with Mind Warp and the return of the repulsive Syl, which I'll get to in a minute. This is the second story in Colin Baker's first full season as the Doctor, and it comes off the back of Attack of the Cybermen. The stories at this point are 45 minutes in length in episodes, 2 episodes here, so it's the same length as a 4-parter but done into 45 minutes, and it's probably one of the better paced stories of that format of the series, of the season even. We'll quickly go into the characters. Of course, the Doctor by this point is now played by Colin Baker, the 6th Doctor. Now, as you may know from a little video I did a few months ago about my favourite Doctors, he's not one of my favourite Doctors, but I do like all the Doctors, and I like aspects of them. And Colin Baker certainly doesn't put a foot wrong with his acting performance through this. It really is a good performance. The character is starting to mellow a little bit as well, becoming more of the hero that we know. And that's always one thing that Colin Baker's Doctor always was good, was being the hero of the piece, and certainly a lot more proactive than Peter Davison's Doctor was, and certainly you can see that here with the way he tries to lead him and Jondar and Areta and Peri around the dome to try and escape all the punishments and the hallucinations they have. Then you've got Peri herself from Nicola Bryant. Solid performance, although the relationship between her and the Doctor is kind of this argumentative thing is not so bad as it was in Time Lash, or is in Time Lash when that comes up later in the season. It's kind of mellowed a little bit, and there is appreciation between the two of them, and the Doctor really doesn't want Peri to get in trouble and really cares for her. You can see that in this story, but their dynamic's quite good. The best dynamic you see of that is obviously at the beginning when they're arguing in the TARDIS, and she's basically talking about how all the things he's done wrong, and he says, "I never said I was perfect." I love that line. Then we have the best guest villain, and the last, and what people say is the last greatest villain of classic Doctor Who, and that is Syl, played by Nabil Shaban. Now, Nabil Shaban is a disabled actor, so there isn't any tricks to the costume he's in. He is a stunted growth, and the costume he's in makes him look like people that were going at the time, "Wow, that's an amazing costume, how has he managed to do that? How did he manage to do that trick?" I think that's where the water tank comes in, because it gives a kind of, better illusion that this isn't somebody stuck in a water tank. This actually is him sitting on top of it, and it's a brilliant piece of design work that's done on there. You can see it's a little bit rubber, but he puts a brilliant performance in that lizardy, slimy laugh that he does, and I love the fact that he can shout and scream with slightly wrong wording at times. Now, whether that's part of the scripting or whether that's part of Shaban's performance that he put in rehearsals, I don't know. But it's certainly the way they play on the fact it's a translator that's causing this issue is quite a good little little nod, really, to the fact that obviously he's quite alien. He does come across quite an alien role, quite scheming, but he is slightly ineffectual at times with some of his ideas. He loves his sadism. He's quite sadistic, and I think it's one of the few times that you see in the series, the classic series, that the villain actually doesn't like and doesn't think that the companion's that pretty until she gets turned more or less into a bird person or a lizard, or lizard type as Areta does. It's just really interesting, his point of view, and it's really quite an alien character, and I can see why he's such a great character. And it'd be lovely to see Nabil back as Syl at some point in the new series. He's still going strong. It'd be good to see if he could come back, because he's done a couple of audio plays, and I've heard that he's quite good, although I've not listened to them myself personally yet, and that's one thing I will have to get going. But then again, I've got 250 odd stories of Doctor Who to go through first, television to review, before I go to Big Finish, which is about the same. Then we go on to the Chief Officer, Forbes Collins, a very slimy character. He's working for the corporation. He's obviously getting bungs from the corporation to try and get the Zyton ore extortionately priced. He's an okay character. He's a nice bridge between Martin Jarvis's governor, which we'll come to in a minute, and Syl's slimy, Nabil Shaban's slimy Syl. And speaking of the governor, we have Martin Jarvis's last appearance in Doctor Who so far. He made 3 appearances in the series. This is his last one. His first one was in the Web Planet, if I remember correctly, and then he made appearance later on Invasion of the Dinosaurs. This is his most central role he's played. He is obviously a well-known actor by this point, so he plays the role of the governor. And he's basically a politician stuck in what he stuck with the surroundings and the rules that he's binded to. One of the more interesting bits of the story is the fact that you've got this whole thing about the residents of Varos watching reality TV of torture, which is obviously 15 years ahead of its time. Big Brother didn't really kick in until 2000, so this is 1985. So it's a nice, interesting extreme of what reality TV could be if it goes to the extremes in regards to pain and hurt and torture, which could happen. But I think it's something that certainly would be a parable that was concerned for about 10 years ago. Now, maybe not. I don't. Reality TV's kind of changed the way it's doing things. It's petering out a little bit in regards to how it works in regards to the torture side, but the psychological side, maybe. I think Love Island's kind of showing that more recently. And yes, this review is going to date and also be geographically specific. But in regards to that, you've got a way of showing a different point of view of the action that's going on through Arak and Etta, who are the couple that are living in the normal Varos camps. Probably it looks like a converted prison cell, if I'm honest with you. But they're watching and they're voting for different things, and it's very, very akin to what you got in modern reality shows now. They do some, there's stars or celebrities or people on camera that do something, and then the audience votes for it. It's a nice little parable. Them two work because Etta is very for the government, and Arak is very fed up with it. So it's kind of a nice little parable there. And the fact that the two of them at the end, when they're given the freedom, are going, what do we do? I don't know. Because they've been so subjugated for all this time. It's really interesting seeing that. And it's a lovely dynamic. Then we have the other 3 guest stars we've got down here. We have Areta, played by Geraldine Alexander. She is the wife of John Dar, played by Jason Connery, and I'll get to him in a moment. But she's basically a friend for Perry. Well, maybe not a friend, but a companion for Perry in this part, because they tend to have a lot of scenes together. So the character of Areta is function to plot, really. She's not really doesn't have a big thing on it. Then you've got John Dar, played by Jason Connery, and the first scene he's in, he's been tortured with his topless, so he's trying to play on his father's well-known, because his father is Sean Connery, of course. I think he's got, oh yeah, let's get a role in. I don't know whether it's written or whether it's the way he's betraying it, but the fact he's been tortured topless and showing his buff body and all that. Decent act, but at the end of the day, he is virtually a plot device. He doesn't really revolve around the main characters that much. He's a rebel. He needs to be crushed, and he's a catalyst for some of the adventure they go on, but not really a big thing. Then we have a couple of others. We've got the guard, Maldak. Owen Teal gives a decent performance. He makes an appearance and more of an appearance and works alongside the governor in the second episode. Throwaway, but Quilliam is the last big character. Played quite well by Nicholas Chargin, actually. This whole fact of the scarred from his own experiments and the sadistic nature he has about the way the punishment dome works, and how he does the programming and all the different torture devices they've used. He plays a good, solid performance. In regards to the plot, obviously I've touched already about the fact it's a parody of reality TV nowadays, if you watched it now. But there's also the fact of oppression and the trading and how the fact that, it could be a parable to an extent as well of some of the trading practices of some of nowadays as well, with some countries in the world. There are countries that are, have had years of being extortionate, had extortion to them and prices being lower for commodities than they need to and all that. And all right, you don't get starvation because obviously Varos is a mining colony, but there's an interesting side to it that you can see in the real world at the moment in regards to the way everything works. But the story plots along. Various aspects of torture. There's two things I do have to broach here. The famous acid scene that everybody knows about here. Yes, the Doctor does not push either of the guards in. One of the guards falls into the acid bath, and the other one then pulls his colleague in. The Doctor has nothing about it. He doesn't push him in, and that's a misconception, a myth that's grown up through the story that the Sixth Doctor had a lot of violence, and it's true, there is a bit of violence in here, and obviously the subject matter kind of lends to that, and it is a more violent era at this point. But the Doctor didn't push him in. The Doctor didn't do anything like that. I mean, the most violent the Doctor gets is he shoots control panel for the transmogrification device that Perry and Aretta are undergoing, where Perry's turning into a bird woman and Aretta's turning into a lizard woman. That's the most violence the Doctor does. The rest of the time, he's using his brains. He's running around corridors. He's trying to solve a mystery, and and he's trying to escape from fanaticals, but still trying solve the problem at the end of the day. So he's not doing anything that's violent, really, in that respect. And people think that the Sixth Doctor's a violent Doctor because of a certain strangling scene in his very first story, but he's not. He's actually he's not far off. He's got very much Hartnell vibes, the way he works. He's just a younger version, really, in some respects, and Colin Baker doesn't put a foot wrong. There is one aspect of the action side that Colin Baker at times seems to embrace better than Peter Davison did, and that's the bits where he's in the corridor, which is hallucinating about the desert, and the bits where he's actually acting like he's feigning water, he's in heat, and he's going to collapse, and that effect is actually quite good. I did like that effect, and some of the others are pretty decent as well, but that's probably the best effect of the lot that was used, and Ron Jones' direction in that is actually pretty solid. When it comes to the music, we've got the music by Jonathan Gibbs, and it's not really a suite of music. It's really just atmospheric. It's underlying and giving points to various aspects. It's not being used as a undergoing track that you get with some of the other stories of that season, because you get a lot of it in the Two Doctors, you get a lot of it in Revelation of the Daleks, you get a bit of the Attack of Cybermen, no, in this one, Jonathan Gibbs has just given a very basic undertone and helping punctuate some of the aspects of the story. And I talked about the direction. It's all studio based. It's all multi-camera. The visual effects for what they're doing, they're fine. The direction, it's pretty standard. There's not really any major, big camera shots or anything like that. It is a pretty standard fare the way it's directed, but it goes along at a pace. You're never really bored. There's not really bad aspects to it in regards to pacing. It goes along at a good pace, and it's one of the better paced stories of series 22 or season 22, because some of them there's a lot of filler. This one doesn't seem to have as much. There's a lot of corridor scenes, but the pacing's still there. I think having different technology, because they have a buggy they go along in some parts of it when they're escaping that some of the guards have, and they use that buggy. That helps because it helps break up the type of runaway that they're doing. So there is a little bit of adventure there in regards to the corridors, but there's a lot of corridor running. you can't deny that. But the angles are pretty standard. There's not really much imagination. It is basically filmed like a basic multi-camera drama of the time. There's not really anything amazing on it, but it's a good job. The lighting's decent enough. It's not overlit like some other stories are later in the season. One story in particular, I won't go any further. But in overall, no, it's decent fare. A decent story, but it's not, it's one of the stronger ones of that season. But Philip Martin has done a good job with the story. It's nicely written. I think the direction kind of lets it down a little bit because it is pretty standard what Ron Judge has done with it. He's not really been imaginative. And when we're starting to see things that Graham Harper does in this era in regards to imaginative direction, it does kind of make you think, well, hang on a minute, it's not really, it's standard fare. It really isn't really anything different. And it's studio bound as well, so it's got those limitations too. Overall, I do enjoy the story. Of the TARDISes out of 5, well, it's not 4.5 territory, definitely isn't. And I was going to be nasty and think it was 3, but it's not the worst of Colin Baker's era. And certainly there's stories in Colin Baker's eras that could be 1 or even 2 when I get to them. But this one is okay. It's an okay story, and I will give it 3.5 TARDISes out of 5. Okay, that's it. That's another review done. Tell me what you think. Leave a comment down below. Don't forget to share and like this video if you like what you see. And don't forget to check out the playlist of all the other reviews I've done so far. And tell me what you think. If you like these videos and you like other things on the channel after checking out the playlist, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit the notifications bell. I release a video every Sunday at 4 PM GMT. And while Doctor Who Series 11 is on, I will be releasing a video every Monday. A first impressions video of my first reaction of Doctor Who that was played the day before. Usually the time is going to be 4 PM GMT. There may be a couple of weeks coming up where that may be a little bit later it gets released, but we'll be on the Monday. Stay tuned for that. Keep an eye on the channel. I'll let you know in videos going forward. But apart from that, thank you very much for watching. Next week is a little walk and talk. I've got a wee channel update coming up. Deanstructor will be back next month. So I hope to join you then. Until then, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you later.